Hey guys, RagingRashaka coming to you here with a little bit of news from the WoW front today. Agron just posted up a couple of hours ago some information about the future of SoD. We could possibly be seeing the end of the world of SoD as we know it based on the post that they made. So let's hop into it here and see what you guys think. So this post went up, like I said, a couple of hours ago. Starts out, greetings, as you may have read here. We're excited to offer those of you who have completed the Balnazar encounter in the Scarlet Enclave raid a free Mists of Pandaria Classic boost. We believe that this would be a great capstone for the Season of Discovery to offer those of you who are looking to embark on your next Classic adventure this opportunity to hop in Mist Classics right away when it launches. So just reading those, the first basically two lines there, they say capstone, which is kind of funny because there was a whole debate a little while ago when they launched this new raid content that they put some wording similar to that in the launching of it, saying, the culmination of Season of Discovery, and people freaked out about it. Acting like it was going to be the end, which is amusing or ironic, I guess, that it ended up being that way. But they went back and removed that from that Twitter post or X post, and but now they're using similar wording here. This is something I've been calling for a while. That I kind of figured SoD would be ending in the near future. I didn't really think that they would be taking it into the TBC era like a lot of people had thought about. It's hard to say what their future endeavors will be, but we can kind of touch on that in a little bit. We'll finish going through this. Said, when we look back on the journey we've taken in Season of Discovery, we are incredibly proud of the time that we got to spend with all of you in this unique take on the original version of World of Warcraft. From the first moments that players sat down at the demo stations at BlizzCon 2023, we knew we had something special, and it's wild to think that it has been over 18 months since we announced it. When we think of the impact of the impact that Season of Discovery will ultimately have on World of Warcraft, we think about how it helped prove something that a lot of us already knew. There is an enormous appetite for new experiences set against the backdrop of original World of Warcraft. As soon as the realms went live and we saw the response, we knew we had an unprecedented opportunity to immerse ourselves in new concepts and ideas and to see what works best and what doesn't. Or, well, what works and what doesn't. Several months ago, as we wrapped up development on Naxxramas and Kirazan Crypts, we had originally planned for that to be the final content update for Season of Discovery. However, we couldn't let go one major unrealized dream of Season of Discovery, the Scarlet Enclave raid, essentially. We looked at our schedule and decided to take a risk in order to make time to create the new raid tier and really punctuate the Season of Discovery experience with something special. We're very glad we did, and that's kind of in bold, so they're very excited about what they've done. It's been incredibly fun to play and progress through the new content with you. Season of Discovery was successful beyond our wildest imagination back in 2023. We learned so much. We grew as a team, both literally and figuratively. We've been invigorated for the future like never before. The future for Season of Discovery is somewhat bittersweet, as we've made the decision to slow down on Season of Discovery and begin work on our next major project in the original WoW design space. So this is some interesting information here. So a couple of things that I'll say, I'll go back on this. I really do think that SoD was an interesting idea, and I think when it first hit, a lot of people were really excited about it. And it kind of gave us, it kind of gave us the idea of that there could be something else out there. We could get that original WoW feel while having some new content to do and actually be able to experience WoW again for the very first time. It was one of those things for me coming into Season of Discovery. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time running around for the first 4 or 5 days looking for all the different skills, trying to figure out what there was out there, even playing multiple classes because you leveled up, you got to 25, relatively quickly. It didn't take too long. So then you just, start up another class and go. And I thought that was a lot of fun. It really broke up the leveling grind that a lot of people are experiencing in Anniversary Edition right now, where I personally think it takes way too long to go from 1 to 60. So having those breakups of level cap being 25, and then you stay there for a while and get some gear, and then a little later on they increase the level and introduce a new raid tier. It's almost like little mini expansions all throughout the 1 to 60 process, which I personally found somewhat refreshing, and it kind of gave us a little bit more of a sense of community than you see in a lot of MMOs these days, especially in WoW. With a game as old as WoW, it's difficult to get new people to come in and play the game, because everybody feels like, oh, everybody knows so much about WoW, and, like, I don't know anything about WoW. I've never played it before, and I don't really want to get into a game where I don't know what's going on, and, people are going to be rude to me because I don't understand nuances about the game and blah, blah, blah. And I think SoD was one of those things that kind of gave new people a chance to get in and kind of experience the game while everyone else was still learning. And you had this really good exchange of information and ideas between players that is kind of unprecedented since, I don't know, probably the 90s, before a lot of the websites got out there like Wowhead, they just write up guides and tell you how to do everything, so you never have to talk to another player. And at the beginning of SOD, you had that brand new MMO feel where everybody in the community was working towards goals, and people would share things. Somebody would find something and they'd yell it out across the zone, like, hey, if you're playing a hunter, I found this bush, and if you cast Hunter's Mark on it, then this thing happens. And so it's like, it was just really cool, the concept of how players as an entire community were working together to find these new skills and kind of running around and experiencing this new thing, where even when you're playing things like Classic from 2019 or the current Anniversary servers, it's just not the same feel at all. You have people that are running around and doing stuff, but they're all trying to beat everyone else. They're trying to prove that they're the best, and they're not actually doing anything to work together. And that's one of the things that I think made SOD kind of special when it first came out. Unfortunately, with Wowhead and the internet being what it is today, that was short-lived, and quickly guides started showing up that explained exactly how to do everything. So then it went from everybody sharing information to people just begging higher level people to help them kill some random creature so that they could get a skill that they technically shouldn't even have yet. They're trying to kill a level 25 creature to get a high-end skill, and they're a level like 12. So it quickly changed the atmosphere. And then you got into raiding and things along those lines, and the raiding was interesting. It was really nice being able to go in at level 25 and do raids, and even if your team wasn't great, it was like an hour and a half, one night a week. You cleared the whole of Black Fathom Deeps. It was really cool, and had a good time with it, and it was just a nice, refreshing feeling, especially coming from Classic, where at that point, I guess we were in Wrath of the Lich King, and you were doing 2-night grinds through ICC or maybe Ulduar. I forget exactly when it was that hit. I think we were in ICC in that window, but you were doing generally 2 nights, 3 or 4 hours a night while you were trying to learn your way through the fights with a new team and stuff like that. And it was just, it's a really grueling concept in today's day and age, where there's so many games to play and so many things to do, and people are so busy. It's difficult to get a group of people together and get them really focused to go in and clear content. So it was just kind of a nice thing to mess around with in SOD. It was a refreshing feeling. It really wasn't my personal level of interest for raiding. I like the harder stuff. I like things where you're beating your head against a wall for a little while, trying to figure out or trying to get people to, to work together and kind of develop that team dynamic and learn everybody's strengths and weaknesses and things along those lines. And SOD just kind of pulled that out and was just like, hey, this is just a place to hop in and have some fun. So yeah, I will definitely give them credit for that. They definitely created an experience that people have not really seen in WoW for 20 or 25 years at this point. So I do give them props on that, and it's really great. As far as what they're going to be going, on into the future, they do go on to say that this is basically going to become Classic era, and I'll finish the rest of the post here in just a moment. But they kind of get into this concept of like, yeah, this is going to basically become classic era and the servers will continue and you can keep playing, but there's really not going to be any new content. So let's go ahead and get back into this, and we'll finish this up, and then I'll finish up some last thoughts on it. So it says here we have big plans and big ambitions for this type of found photographs content set in the original world of Azeroth. But in order to realize those ambitions, we need to make sure we're spending our time where it will make the most impact on the long-term future of WoW Classic. We want to set ourselves up for success by taking... Oh, wow. Okay. they have a little bit, he's got a little bit of a typo in there, but we want to set ourselves up for success by taking the time we need to get the proverbial kitchen and cook, iterate on, and shape our ideas and lessons learned from Season of Discovery into something truly exciting. Season of Discovery was always meant to be an ephemeral seasonal experience, ephemeral seasonal experience. While it became much more for a time, we're extremely excited about the things we're working on for the future. We have no plans to shut down the SoD realms, and we hope to see the game mode continue to operate similar to WoW Classic era for many months, if not years to come. We've all grown attached to our characters just like you have, and we're happy to continue to adventure with you for as long as you'd like. We sincerely thank you for joining us on this incredible journey in Season of Discovery. Thank you all for playing with us, making new friends with us, for giving us feedback, for pushing the boundaries of what content set in original WoW could look like, or what, I guess they meant what new content set in original WoW could look like. And more than anything, thank you for being passionate about World of Warcraft. I think that's a good little speech coming out of there. There's definitely a lot of things that I think they could learn from what they've done with World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. Hopefully, we'll see some beneficial game mode coming out in the future. I'm not a huge fan of the short seasonal system, so the fact that this entire thing went over 18 months, and that includes a new raid zone, I feel like when they do these classics and then like SoD, that they just don't spend enough time in the content. And SoD during the Naxxramas area, they gave us bonus loot, which was really nice, because a lot of times in the classic era, TBC, for example, was like a 2 or 2.5 year expansion, and we blew through it in just a little over a year in the 2019 version of classic. So that means that everything was coming at you at a much faster pace. You had a lot less time to be able to grind for that rare gear that you really wanted. There were far less Dragonspine trophies, for example, in the game, based on the number of hardcore raiders that were in the game compared to the old school version of WoW, just because you had less time. And it's one of those things where if they're going to speed up the time on this kind of stuff, they need to give you that bonus loot. We're in a different era of player these days. Like, I'm an old school player. You can tell by watching my videos. It's like I'm not a 20-year-old kid. So, I played the game. I played games for different reasons when I first started playing them. And if you want to stay in a position of being good at games, you have to learn why people are playing them today. And I feel like I've moved along with that. I've gotten into, parsing and pushing the parse limits and, trying to see how fast we can kill bosses, how fast we can clear zones. But that's not what playing WoW is about, back in the 2000s when it came out. Like, what was it? 06, I think, was when WoW launched. So it's been a while at this point. I don't feel like Blizzard has adapted to the way that their players play the game at the same rate that the players have been adapting to how the players play the game. So, we've got this issue where people really want to get out there and parse, and they want to see the high numbers, and they want to see all this cool stuff, but you can't get the gear to be able to do that. And it makes this weird divide where You have skilled players that just aren't lucky with the loot, so they can't parse how they want to, and they get annoyed and frustrated with it. And then you get some other people that aren't skilled but have gear, and they can parse, fairly well, and it makes people frustrated. And then you have that kind of like small group of people that are both very skilled and also got really good gear, and they're just blowing the meters out of the water. Like they're getting insanely high parses, and other people want to get up there and compete, and it's not fair on a competition level for people to not have reasonable access to all that gear. I mean, there are some times where best in slot items that are best by a significant margin for, a greater part of the expansion, that players just can't get, like Dragonspine Trophy, for example, is a good one. Or for those of you that are playing Anniversary right now, a DFT is one that's, really, really rare. And, it's a huge increase. And if you don't get that as a warrior, for example, you have to completely rebuild your BIS list because you got to get your hit rating from somewhere else. And that, that causes a lot of changes in gear and retooling. And then some of the other pieces that you have are exceedingly rare, and you may not be able to get those either, which really limits what you can do, from a specific standpoint. So I feel like if they're going to continue doing these fast pushes on this content, that they need to increase the amount of loot. That is one of the things that SoD did, especially in the Naxxramas era. They had multiple difficulty levels. I think there were 4 different difficulty levels, and every time you jumped a difficulty level, it would increase the amount of loot. Like going to difficulty 2, I think, gave you an extra piece of loot. Difficulty 3 gave you an extra legendary shard, and then difficulty 4, I believe, gave you an extra piece of loot and an extra legendary shard. And then they also added mounts that would drop off the final boss, and an extra phase, interestingly enough, on the final boss if you did it on the max difficulty level. I thought that was really neat. I think the borrowed power system that they did for Naxxramas was poorly designed, and it made all the gear that came out of Naxxramas feel really crappy when going into Scarlet Enclave. A lot of classes had to actually revert back to more pieces of Anchorage gear, because like your 6-piece set bonus, for example, was 100% associated with dealing damage to undead, and Scarlet Enclave has 0 undead, so your 6-piece set bonus was worthless in Scarlet Enclave. So a lot of people would drop to 4-piece and then pick up pieces of older gear to actually get more damage for the new raid, and that's a bad feeling, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of that, and I think a lot of people kind of felt that way as well. So hopefully they've learned from mistakes like that. I feel like Scarlet Enclave was a pretty decent. My biggest disappointment, honestly, in Scarlet Enclave is when it first came out, it was kind of hard, and that was really nice because almost nothing in SoD has been any level of a challenge, with the exception of the early launch of Sunken Temple. That was ridiculously difficult for a lot of people, and it got toned down. But to me, that feels like one of the biggest problems that SoD had, which is why it got the moniker of Season of Dads, is that there was not a whole lot of difficulty in SoD. They didn't give a way for people to actually push themselves and do better. Even the max difficulty level in Naxxramas was really not that difficult, especially with the borrowed power system. Day 1, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but every week that went by where you could increase the power by just upgrading your buff, it just significantly reduced the difficulty level in the zone to where it was essentially non-existent. And it's like, when it becomes old content, so when Scarlet Enclave came out, if they wanted to make Naxx super easy to allow people to do some catch-up, I would be fine with that. But nerfing the crap out of difficulty while it is current content is kind of annoying, in my opinion. I like to see that difficulty level. I like to see a reason to do the higher difficulties. And I don't think everyone should just be awarded, I guess you could call it, the privilege of doing the higher, of getting the better tier loot, or getting the loot faster, or getting access to cosmetics like, the mount that came out of there, just simply because they're playing the game. I definitely feel like there should be a divisor between people who want to play the game at a higher level than other people and have the time and the availability to do it. I think they should get something for that. And SOD just does not offer that, whereas the other classic redos have still, kind of held that. Here's normal difficulty. It's not insanely hard. Here's heroic difficulty. You got to have a team that's willing to work together and will do things and understand how to play their class. It's not insanely difficult, but there is definitely a dividing line between the people that can do normal mode versus the people that can do heroic mode. So I like seeing that dividing line, and that's one thing Season of Discovery didn't have. I also find it kind of annoying that even though Scarlet Enclave was really difficult at the beginning, your power ability in Scarlet Monastery spirals out of control really quickly as you continue to get gear. The gear that's coming out of there is insanely strong. They should have left the difficulty higher and slowed down the pace at which people were going through Scarlet Enclave, considering the fact that they knew that this was going to be the last raid content for Scarlet Monastery, or for Scarlet Enclave, or for Season of Discovery in general. It would have felt like there was more life left to it. But the guild that I'm running with in SOD, I just do it on the side because I'm spending all my time in Anniversary right now, and I'm looking forward to TBC coming back out and going through Wrath and stuff again. I just love that era of the game. So I just kind of do SOD on the side with a kind of a mid-core team. They don't really do a whole lot. They're not crazy coordinated or anything. And they have two teams that are running. One team has been clearing Scarlet Enclave for a few weeks at this point, and the second team is they're killing everything but the last boss. So it's like everyone's done with this content basically, because this is not a top end team that I'm running on, and they're clearing the content. So once you've cleared the content and then they announce that SOD is basically done, what's the reason to continue playing? If you look it up, I think it's somewhere around 5,000 to 10,000 people are still playing Classic Era, which to me sounds like a whole lot of people. But there's a lot of people that just really love that era of playing WoW. Like, they're just really infatuated with it, and they've been playing it for years, and they love doing that. I don't know if SOD is going to have the same kind of following. Like, there's a decent amount of people playing SOD. I think the last time I checked, it was roughly similar to Anniversary and Retail. Like, they were all kind of pretty close to the same amount of people playing. But I just don't know how many people are going to stick with playing SOD once they've completed the content. Maybe some people will stay around for a while because they want to complete their gear set, since they had that mindset going into this phase that, it's just like every other phase. So you want to get all your pieces of gear. But I don't know. I think there's going to be a large chunk of people that are going to see this message and just be like, what's the point in continuing to play? I'm going to go play something where my character is actually going to last, and it's not just going to become a dead server kind of concept. And then there will be some people that'll go ahead and finish their gear sets. Maybe they want to try to push a higher parse than what they had, just so they can make their record look good or whatever. And then they'll start to die off. Those guilds will start to fall apart. But I think you're going to have the combining of a whole bunch of different guilds on the server pretty soon, because no matter what guild you're in, you're probably going to start losing people relatively quickly. I know the guild that I'm in, these guys are like dooming and glooming like crazy right now and trying to figure out what they're going to do next, and blah blah blah. They haven't fallen apart or anything, but I mean, it's not a pretty situation for the game that you've been playing for the past 18 months to just be like, oh yeah, we're kind of done, guys, sorry. Especially when there had been leaks recently and people were getting excited that maybe SOD was going to go into early phases of Burning Crusade and blah blah blah, and then it's just like, oh yeah, just kidding, we're done. So I feel sorry for people that this was their primary game and they were just really into it. But honestly, if you're playing anything that's called Season of anything, you should just know that is going to be a limited time thing. I've been saying it since the beginning of Season of Discovery that it was not going to last and that there was going to be a definite end. I personally never saw it going into TBC, and I've been saying this for over a year at this point, that I just didn't see it going that far. Some of that's on stream, some of it's just been talking to people like in the guild and whatnot, but turns out I was right. There's only so much that they can do with it. I'm really interested to see what it is that they're planning on doing next. They're talking about another project that they're working on. People have tons of theories out there. You've got this ongoing theory for I don't know how long about a Classic Plus, so that could be a thing. I don't know. I may do an entire video on Classic Plus. My argument about Classic Plus is I don't like retail, and I don't like the direction that they've gone with retail. I like the way that the game was played previously, and I just don't like anything about the new systems. I don't like Mythic Dungeons. I don't like the way rating is done. I don't like the mentality of players that are playing in retail. I don't like how insanely powerful all of the mods are and how they basically just tell you how to play the game. I think people should, when they're playing a game, they should be recognized by their merit and the time and effort that they put into the game to learn how to play it. And having things like mods that are telling you how to play the game is not good in any way. For one, it gives you the false identity that people are actually good and really paying attention, where at the end of the day, it's just a mod that allows them to be able to do what it is that they're doing. And if for any reason that mod has problems, then that person can't adapt and be a valid member of a raid team without that mod. And then the other, really big eyesore involving this as well is kind of the concept that we understand about retail now, which is, oh, the mods got more powerful and they tell you how to do everything. So the only way that we can keep difficulty in WoW is by making WoW more difficult, because we know mods exist that tell you how to play. So now we have to come up with ways to make things more difficult, understanding that the mods are more powerful. And then the mod creators are like, oh, okay, so now we just need to change our mod so now it can tell you how to do the new stuff. And then the developers are like, okay, well, now we got to adjust to that and make an even more powerful, more difficult enemy. And, you kind of spiral out of control. And if I'm not mistaken, Ian Acostas was originally from Elitist Jerks back in the day, which was, like they were the cutting edge premier place that you went to find all of the hardcore information that you wanted to know about WoW. I don't think that is the direction that WoW should be focusing on. I feel like WoW is the most successful when it has low tier, mid tier, and high tier players. You have the low and mid tier player who are always trying to aspire to become better at whatever it is that they're doing, and then the high tier players are generally the people that a lot of people look at and go, ooh, like look at all the cool gear that they've got, or look at all the cool things that they can do. I want to do that. It gives you a direction to go, like a thing to strive to become. And at the end of the day, that's a lot of what life is all about, is trying to, to better yourself in whatever way you can. So I think mimicking that concept is, in my opinion, the best way to go when you're dealing with an MMO. And when you have somebody like Ian Acostas that's running the show, he's really kind of tailoring the game for super hardcore people, and that leaves out the low and mid-tier players. And I think that's detrimental to the future of the game, personally. Like, I think that's one of the major reasons that WoW is not as successful as it used to be, is because of this insane push towards, insanity of raiding, to be honest. But I also don't think that you should be doing the whole, like, oh, hey, let's give a medal to everyone. Like, here's super easy mode, looking for raid queuing. It's like, I think that's bad as well. It's like, maybe if you want to have an LFR where it's like, oh, you just get to go through, you can play it completely solo, and you can see the story, but there is zero loot that's dropped in there. I think that's okay for people who can't raid or don't have the time to raid, but they want to see the story and they want to experience the concept of the raid. They did a really cool concept with that in Legion with the Illidan fight, where one of them was you actually play as Illidan and you're fighting like a raid team of AI enemies that are trying to attack you. It's like like 25 enemies, and you got to kill them as Illidan, and you go through the various phases and stuff. And I thought that was a really neat idea, and it's like that would be something cool for LFR if they wanted to add that in, and that way people that want to experience the story could experience that. But like I said, I could do a whole thing on Classic Plus in the future. I don't want to get crazy off topic. This is primarily about the concept of the future of SoD. Personally, after reading through this entire thing, I do kind of feel like that this is the end. I was kind of wondering if it was like, oh, well, we'll slow down and there'll be some more content coming out in the future. But based on the fact that they're comparing it to the direction of WoW Classic era, Classic gets a couple of bug fixes here and there, minor things like that, but they don't get new content. Comparing it directly to Classic era, in my opinion, means no new content. They say slowing down on SoD, but I think this just truly means the end. It's like the servers will be there. You can keep logging in, you can keep raiding, but there's going to be no new content coming in the future. I'd like to know what you guys think about it, so be sure and post in the comments if you think that this post means something a little different. Maybe you think they're going to actually continue content. I don't know. Like I said, I'd like to know what you guys think, but that's all I've got for it. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe if you found this to be interesting, and then always come back and see me when I'm live. But thanks for the time, and we'll see you guys next time.